So good afternoon to all of you students. Today we are going to understand about the conditional proposition, or this is also known as conditional statement. So let us see. So in this case also let us consider two propositions, that is P and Q. On the basis of these two propositions we will explain. So if P and Q are two propositions, if P and Q are two propositions, then the compound proposition, it is a compound proposition, then the compound proposition if P then Q, if P then Q, which is denoted as P arrow Q, or P arrow Q, or P implies Q. So it can be denoted in two ways. Either we can denote it like this, or we can use like this. So this is called conditional proposition, is called conditional proposition or implication, in short. So this is conditional proposition or implication. Here suppose we are writing if P then Q. So in this case P is basically, this is known as antecedent or hypothesis part, or this Q is known as, this is the conclusion or consequence. So we can say where P is called antecedent or hypothesis, and Q is called consequent or conclusion. So this is called consequent or conclusion. Now let us take example. For example, and the example is if it rains, then I will carry an umbrella. So here in this example, this part it rains, this is P and this is the antecedent or hypothesis, and I will carry an umbrella. This is part Q and this is known as consequent or conclusions. So here we can say if this is P, then this is antecedent or hypothesis. This is hypothesis. And if this is Q, this is Q, then we can say this is the conclusion. This is conclusion. So these are P and Q. Now further, this conditional proposition, it can also be read as there are so many ways, like for example, the first is P implies Q. So it can also be read as, this conditional proposition can also be read as P implies Q, and the second is P is sufficient for Q. This is the second way. This is the second way by which we can read, and the third is P only if Q. So this is the third way, and the fourth is Q is sufficient for P. Q is sufficient for P. And fifth is Q if P. Q if P. This is the fifth way, and the sixth is Q follows from P. Q follows from P. And seventh is Q is consequence of P. Q is the consequence of P. So these are also the ways by which we can read it, this conditional proposition or conditional statement. First is P implies Q, second is P is sufficient for Q, third is P only if Q, fourth one is Q is sufficient for Q, and fifth one is Q if P, sixth one is Q follows from P, and seventh one is Q is consequence of P. Now we will see its truth table. So we can make its table. So this is P, Q, and P implies Q, So if f is p is false, q is false, then this is true. So this is the first condition. When p is false, q is false, then p implies q, this is true. Second is, if this is false and this is true, again this is true. When p is false, q is true, then again this is true. And if p is true and this is false, in this case this is false. Here it is to be noted that this implication it can also be looked as the conditional promise. So we can say if the promise is true, then we can say it is true, otherwise it is false. So if promise is true, so in this case here promise is not true, because this is the promise and this is false here, so we can say it will be false. So in other situations it will be true. So here there is no promise, it is also false, then it is true. No promise, this is true, therefore it is true. Promise is there, but this is false. So this is the truth table for P implies Q. So we can say, it is to be noted here, that it can be looked as, or we can say the implication can be looked as conditional promise. Conditional promise, and if this promise is broken, if this promise is broken, the implication is false. Implication is false, else it is true. Else it is true. So if promise is broken, and in this case this will be false, otherwise in all the condition, all the situations it will be true. Now on the basis of this we will see some examples. Now let us see some examples. In these examples we will see whether the implication is true or not. So whether the implications are true or not. So first example is if the earth is round, then it, or we can say then the earth travels round the sun. If the earth is round, then the earth travels round the sun. Now here P denotes the earth is round. P denotes the earth is round, and Q denotes the earth travels round the sun. The earth is round, this is P, and the earth travels round the sun, this is Q. Now here it is clear that this proposition P, this is true. So this is true here, we can write here T, and Q, the earth travels around the sun, this is also true. This is also true. So in this case we can say when both are true, then implication is true. So this P implies Q, we can say this is true in this case. Now we will see the second example, and the second example is if Graham Bell invented the telephone, then tigers have wings. If Graham Bell invented the telephone, then tigers have wings. So here again say P denotes Graham Bell invented the telephone, and Q denotes tigers have wings. Now we will see whether this proposition is true or not. So P, Graham Bell invented the telephone. So this is true. And tiger have wings. This is false. So in this case what we can see it from this truth table, when this is true and this is false. In this case here the promise is broken. So we can say this P implies Q, this is false. This will be false. Now we will see the third example. Third example is if cats have wings, then RDX is dangerous. If cats have wings, then RDX is dangerous. Now say P denotes cats have wings, P denotes cats have wings, and Q denotes RDX is dangerous. Now we can say this P is false, This P is false because cats do not have wings. So it is clear from here, this is false. This proposition is false and RDX is dangerous, this is true. So first proposition is false and second is true. So in this case we can say this implication will be true. So P implies Q is, again this is true. Because here we can say that because this is false, so there is no promise is broken here. So it doesn't matter whether this is true or false. So in this case this will be true. So in these three examples we can say, the first example is, if the earth is round then the earth travels round the sun, this is true. And the second is, this is true. Second is, if Graham Bell invented the telephone then tigers have wings, this is false because this P is true and Q is false. In this case this implication will be false. And the third is, if cats have wings then RDX is dangerous. So in this case P is false and Q is true. So P implies Q, or this implication is true. So this is about the conditional proposition. So I hope that you would be benefited from this lecture. Now in the next lecture we will see biconditional proposition. Thank you.